Hi, everybody. Mike Beer here with your Wednesday DRFBets race of the day. That race of the day for Wednesday, October 23rd, is race number 7 at Belmont Park, entry-level allowance race for 3-year-olds and up. They're going to go a mile and an eighth on the inner turf course. We have a field of 11. Number 5, Southern Bridge, is on our main track only, so hopefully we won't get to see him run. But otherwise, we have a very well-matched and very competitive field here. This is an excellent betting race. Let's put the entry card up here. We'll take a look at this field. It is headlined by the Chad Brown entry of number 1, Spirit Animal, number 1A, Financial System. They are 2-1 on the morning line. Most of the weight for that short morning line price going to be carried by Spirit Animal, the 3-year-old. That he makes a lot of sense in this race. He is making only his second start of the year after getting one run in back in July at Saratoga. The second choice on the line, number 6, Mr. Alec. Just broke his maiden over the Belmont turf course, going a mile and a quarter with an 87 buyer. He's also a 3-year-old. He only has 2 starts underneath him so far, but he looks pretty talented. You have a couple of other horses in the single digits. Number 2, Everyone Loves James, is a New York bred. He is 5-1 on the line. Number 10, Wrapped, also a New York bred. He is 6-1 on the line. After that, everybody else is double-digit odds, but they are not without chances to win this race if they can get the right trip. Let's take a look at the pace projector to start things off. The pace projector, you will notice, has number 9, Chantry Flats, out there on the lead. That's pretty hard to argue with. Chantry Flats, he's been right there in basically all of his turf races. It took him a while to break his maiden, but he finally did it off the layoff last month, going 1 mile at Belmont. That race had a fast pace. He wasn't on the lead. He sat off of a 100-1 shot who ran out there and went a pretty quick pace. Chantry Flats sat the right trip, ran that horse over in the stretch, and finally broke through to get his maiden win. It's his race 2 back that suggests that he could really be on the lead here in this race. Going a mile and a quarter back in May, he was part of a vicious pace going that distance. That pace ultimately totally fell apart. Chantry Flats actually did very well to be beaten less than a length and finished 3rd that day. He's basically been right up there on or near the lead in all of his races. He should be forward in here. I also suspect that the number 2, who they have second on the pace projector, Everyone Loves James. This is a horse who has a lot of speed, wants to be forward. And for whatever reason, they did not try to make the lead last time when they cut him back. But I suspect drawing the rail over this distance, you're going to see him up there on the pace in this race. Getting back to that entry, let's start with them. They are 2-1 on the morning line for Chad Brown. It's hard to go against these horses. Financial System, to me, is not really my kind of horse. He began his career in the maiden ranks. He did win 3 of his first 4 starts. He's come back this year as a 5-year-old. He hasn't won yet. He has the excuse of going longer than he wants to go. In his 2019 debut, his last 2 races, no real excuses for him. He's run fine. He just happens not to be that good. Spirit Animal's the real question and the real horse that you have to decide what you want to do with this entry. Broke his maiden the first time he got on the turf last year as a 2-year-old at Saratoga. He came right back in the Pilgrim. He actually finished a pretty good 5th in that race. He got off to a very poor start in that race, stumbled very awkwardly, wound up way back off the pace. And actually was racing on Gamely in a deceptively good effort. He got a long layoff after that. He's only made 1 start this year. I thought he ran fine at Saratoga. It was relatively early in the meet. He was defeated by his entry mate that day also. He was part of a coupled entry value proposition. His entry mate won the race. Spirit Animal, I thought, got a good trip. He was in the mix in the stretch. Didn't really have enough. You see the short comment, steadied final 70 yards. I guess that's technically true. It didn't cost him anything. He steadied because he was getting out-finished in that race. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty good place to start as a 3-year-old. I don't know why it's taken him so long to get a second start in, but if he improves off of that 3-year-old debut, I suspect he'll be tough in this race. Just taking a look at a couple of other contenders in here. Mr. Alec is the second choice on the morning line. I thought he ran well in his Monmouth debut. He came up in next short. They stretched him out last time to go 10 furlongs. Listen, he was the favorite that day. He got a really good trip in that race, but he also won it pretty easily at the end. He went clear in the final furlong there. It was a nice performance for him. He got an 87 buyer. The cut back to 9 furlongs here, it really shouldn't hurt him. He showed the kind of tactical speed in his win last time that usually plays well over this distance on the inner turf, where you at least want to save ground. You want to be forward if you can, and if you can't be forward, you want to save ground. Mr. Alec has a tactical speed to do both of those things. I suppose he could win I was going to stand against him in this race, however. Chantry Flats, he makes some sense. I wonder if he's one of those horses who, now that he finally broke through and got the maiden win, will just, really jump up. Now we see that happen from time to time. He was a horse who was always finishing close and not winning. He finally broke through last time. Maybe that's what he needed, and he can go on now and keep improving. If he does that, he has a chance in this race. I'm going to be in on the lead. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I was interested in Wrapped, the New York bred 6-year-old. He's only 3 for 24 lifetime. His last win, July 4th, 2017. We are well past 2 years since Wrapped has won a race, but he just holds his own every single time. They run him in some tough spots. He holds his own in New York bred stakes competition. He's always picking up checks. He's never getting there first. But if he gets the right trip in this race and they go a good pace in front of him, he will run at the end. I could use Wrapped in this race. My top pick in the race, and the horse that, I'm just going to bet in this race, if he stays at around his morning line, is number 2, Everyone Loves James. He's another New York bred, relatively lightly raced 4-year-old, but he's really coming to hand for Jonathan Shepard. He has a lot of speed. He's been very impressive, winning 3 times from his first 7 turf starts. Last time, as I mentioned in the Open, they went in an entry-level allowance race like this one. They cut him back to 7 furlongs. And for whatever reason, they just didn't use his speed in that race. They took him back off the pace. He just sort of went evenly around there. Was not anywhere near his good performance. But I just want to give him the benefit of the doubt for that, because I just think he got the wrong ride. I think he's the kind of horse that you want to use his speed and get position. I think over this distance from post 1, they are going to go with this horse. I think Louis Saez will be aggressive with him. His race 2 back in the West Point was a terrific performance. They put him on the lead that day. He went a fast pace, and he was dead game when challenged by some good horses. Now, I thought he actually ran a really good 4th that day with a 92 bar. And I don't think the 9 furlongs is beyond his scope. I actually feel like this is a good distance for him. I just think he's getting the right trip in this race, and he's probably going to be maybe 3rd or 4th choice in this race. So that was my pick in the race. I'm going to go with Everyone Loves James. I'm, not way against the entry. I do prefer Spirit Animal there. I would not take 2 to 1 on him. But I'll use him. And the other horse for me that I'll throw in there is Wrapped. I think he could blow out to be a pretty good price in this race. And if he gets a setup and gets a clean trip, he could make some noise in here. So I went 2, 10, 1, and 6. That is your Wednesday race of the day. It's Belmont Park, race number 7, entry-level allowance race with a big field, a lot of different ways to go in here, and some horses who should be great prices. The approximate post time is 4:40 Eastern time. Good luck.